Google DeepMind drops its state-of-the-art video generation model, VEO2. And I gotta say, I'm kind of blown away. Just looking at the initial clips that they've posted, this thing seems to be much, much better than the competition. And that's saying quite a bit, because there's a lot of competition. Recently, OpenAI released Sora, the much anticipated AI video model. We have a number of Chinese competitors that are doing extremely well. Meta is working on their own version of AI video, and it's looking quite good, although we don't have access to it yet. And then here comes VEO2 from Google DeepMind, and it seems like it's going to take the #1 spot. The benchmarks also agree with how good this model is. So Facebook Research actually published a Movie Gen Bench, where all the different AI video models can submit their outputs and people can rate them based on how much they like them, both on overall preference, but also in terms of things like prompt adherence, how well it's able to create the thing you're telling it to create. VEO2 beats both those benchmarks, both in overall preference and for its capability to follow prompts accurately. But judge for yourself. So here's the prompt for this one. An extreme close-up shot focused on the face of a female DJ. Her beautiful, voluminous black curly hair framing her features as she becomes completely absorbed in the music. Her eyes are closed, lost in a rhythm, and a slight smile plays on her lips. The camera captures the subtle movements of her head as she nods and sways to the beat, her body instinctively responding to the music pulsating through her headphones and out into the crowd. The shallow depth of field blurs the background. She's surrounded by vibrant neon colors, and the close-up emphasizes her captivating presence and the power of music to transport and transcend. I feel like it nailed every single one of those. Here's another action shot, low-angle tracking shot, 18mm lens. The car drifts, leading trails of light and tire smoke, creating a visually striking and abstract composition. The camera tracks slow, capturing a sleek olive green muscle car as it approaches a corner. As the car executes a dramatic drift, the shot becomes more stylized. The spinning wheels and billowing tire smoke illuminated by the surrounding city lights and lens flare, creating streaks of light and color against the dark asphalt. The cityscape, yellow cabs, neon lights, and pedestrians become a blurred, abstract background. Volumetric lighting adds a depth and atmosphere, transforming the scene into a visually striking composition of motion, lights, and urban energy. For a second, I thought it didn't have the lens flare, but I gotta say, there's a little bit of it here and there. Pretty much everything else, as I can tell, is on point. It is an olive green muscle car approaching a corner, and then doing exactly what the action script explains to do. They do also mention some potential limitations. So for example, while VEO2 demonstrates incredible process, creating realistic, dynamic, or intricate videos, and maintaining complete consistency throughout complex scenes or those with complex motion, that remains a challenge. We'll continue to develop and refine performance in these areas. As you can see here, the skateboarder, I mean, a lot of it looks good, but yeah, the skateboard kind of becomes a jumbled mess, along with the skateboarder himself sometimes when they jump into the air. So this is VEO2. Now, currently you have to be on the waitlist to join. Just click on this button and it'll walk you through how to do it. You just give them some basic info, and sounds like it's rolling out to people now because some people are posting videos on Twitter. The thing that really jumps out, first of all, they're saying that the high quality output can be up to 4K. And I gotta say, some of these videos look really, really high resolution, high detail. And of course, different styles, but extensive camera controls, as you've seen in that olive green muscle car drifting around the corner. If that's the level of detail that you can produce with this will be the best camera controls that I've seen thus far. As we're saying here, advanced motion capabilities. And these are in part due to an understanding of physics and VEO's ability to follow detailed instruction, enhanced realism and fidelity. And certainly this one, I mean, this looks like just regular footage. There's nothing here that strikes me as AI generated. And it beats out all the other video generation models based on human evaluation of the performance. So you might have known that actually Facebook Research, Meta, posted Movie Gen Bench. Here's on GitHub, and basically what it is it allows us to compare the different video models without cherry picking the best examples. VEO2 does incredibly well both on overall preference as well as prompt adherence, so how well it's able to follow what you're asking to do. So on overall preference, so the green means it won over the other model, and the white being a tie. So notice that going up against Sora Turbo, that was preferred only 26% of the time. And this is over like over 1,000 prompts on the various prompts that were presented. In that head-to-head comparison, Sora Turbo was picked only 26% of the time. 58% of the time, it was VEO was picked, with the other being ties. Minimax was picked only 30% of the time. Kling 1.5 was picked 32% of the time. And Meta Movie Gen was picked 30% of the time. So a very strong performance against all of the other models, at least the good ones. By the way, if you're wondering what Sora Turbo is exactly, it's the new version of Sora, Sora Turbo, that's available to us to be used at Sora.com. So that's the standalone product. So apparently there was a other version, Sora, the original. This is Sora Turbo. So if you've used Sora recently, that's Sora Turbo. So this is very strong performance. So just to give you an idea, let's assume that, you expect the two models to tie 15% of the time, right? That seems kind of like the average. That means just random choice, each model would land about 42% of the time, all right? So 42 here, 42 there. So the fact that all of these are in the 50s, 53%, this one's just under 50%, 54%, 58%. The fact that people are picking it as their preferred output so much more often, that shows very strong performance. Interestingly, especially against Sora, looks like Kling AI is the sort of best competitor. Even that is only chosen as the best one 32% of the time overall, and 36% as far as the prompt adherence goes. And you can tell by a lot of these images that the physics that we're seeing is exceptionally good, the understanding of physics. Like this dog bumping around on the balloon animal floaty thing in the pool is just flawless. It's moving more or less exactly how you expect it to. Where the dog pushes its feet looks mushy. The thing kind of floats back and forth. When it does, it creates waves. The dog swimming underwater. I've noticed Sora, while it was very good, it did have some trouble understanding kind of where the bubbles are supposed to be coming from. Here, I feel like it's very, very good at knowing where and how the bubbles are coming out and flowing up to the top, and also the light refraction on the waves underneath the pool. This one kind of blew me away. Now, I'm sure some people will nitpick saying that, well, the numbers don't really make sense. And certainly, I mean, you can't really tell what numbers these are. You can kind of tell what this is, but forget that for a second. Look at the cinematic feel of this and look at the camera changes and the depth of field, how it changes. This is kind of staggering. I mean, to me, this is seeming incredibly realistic, very cinematic. And this sort of perspective shift as we get above the steering wheel and are able to see out into the city. Keep in mind that Google DeepMind has been working at producing AI models, these neural nets that are able to produce video games like this in real time. So this could be soon a video game that you're playing, reacting to whatever keystrokes you're doing. Imagine playing GTA this way, right? Notice the reflections on the hood, how accurately they reflect the surroundings, the buildings. Same thing here in the background. Notice the reflections off of this little glass reflecting the buildings that are supposed to be behind, out of view. This kind of seems to suggest that this model isn't just generating what we see, it's generating some sort of a semblance of the entire 3D world, right? Because these reflections would be somewhere to the left and behind the driver's perspective. Take a look. You see the buildings kind of floating by. Same thing here, the reflections of the flamingos, they're not lost. The model still remembers where they are and kind of accurately shows their reflections in the water. Each flamingo is reflected. This one to me might be one of the more striking ones because of how indistinguishable it is from real footage, including the little wet hairs that are around the mouth. Like that's a little too realistic, I would say. Now, there's a few videos here that Google DeepMind themselves, they sort of present as, where the model maybe has some limitations, where it struggles. And so it's this idea of having complex scene with complex emotion, keeping everything sort of coherent and perfectly generate throughout the entire scene. And certainly you can see that here with the skateboard and the skateboarder. Same thing here with this figure skater. As she sort of twirls about, the entire figure kind of gets morphed a little bit. It almost feels like the model forgets where the front and the back is. There's also some weirdness with the legs. again, the person sort of flips back and forth, kind of clips in and out where they're facing. And then there's this one. This is another one that they present as an example of some of the limitations. Although I gotta say, nothing obviously stands out to me here as a problem. I mean, can you spot any glaring issues with this one? Now, this person appears in the mirror. It seems like maybe he wasn't there earlier and then he sort of appears, but I mean, he could have moved positions. Certainly nothing glaringly bad is happening here. So I'm going to be honest, I can't really tell what the problem is with this image. If you can spot something, point it out in the comments. Because again, this is presented as, hey, here's an example of where this model doesn't do well. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I am not seeing it. This seems impeccable to me. But if you see something, do let me know. Maybe I'm just missing it. All right, here are some examples from Twitter X. Here's a car going at top speed through a road until reaching a waterfall. It gets into the waterfall and jumps off a mountain. Cinematic 35mm film. I absolutely love it. I mean, the way that car goes over the waterfall, lands, you see the suspension kind of buckle a little bit, but it looks good. Here's a sitcom TV show about potatoes. You know, sometimes the animations are hit and miss. I don't really grade them based on the animations. I mostly am interested about the more realistic looking images. Speaking of realistic looking images, here's a penguin going paragliding apparently. A flying penguin. See, only AI can produce something like that. I gotta say, this is looking terrific. The way it kind of like slowly like jumps and just glides away. That's phenomenal. Here we have photorealistic macro photography inside of an anthill, 75mm lens. There's probably a few of you watching that are absolutely grossed out right now, and I apologize. With that said, the detail, the realism, everything else is absolutely striking. I'm also noticing, as far as I can tell, all of the legs, they don't clip in and out of sight. They're all coherent. They all exist and are sort of stay consistent across the frames. Here's a bartender making an old-fashioned cocktail. Here's variation 2. See, here you can finally, so now I'm beginning to see a little bit of the AI glitches, just a little bit here and there. That was the first time I saw anything that was kind of a dead giveaway of the funkiness. So notice the little tumbler thing that he uses, the liquids, and then the tumbler kind of like disappears, turns into a thing sticking out the glass. Here we have a monkey and a potato riding a bike underwater surrounded by colorful fish and sharks. Here's a large iron ball falls on top of a cardboard box full of coins. That's terrific. Yeah, somehow there's now more coins in the box. That's interesting. But everything looks very, very real. Definitely, yeah. I mean, there's more coins in the box after it smashes them than before. But other than that, like the physics, the coins, the dust effects, the little particles flowing around, reflections off the iron ball, everything is looking terrific. Here's an astronaut exploring an underwater alien shipwreck. And certainly that's definitely an astronaut, not a scuba diver. I mean, you can tell by, the suit, the fabric of it, and the alien shipwreck. I can definitely believe that that's some sort of an alien shipwreck. Nailed it. A pirate cannon shooting meatballs into a spicy hot pot. First of all, I'll start here. The hot pot looks delicious. I'm getting hungry. The meatballs are getting covered in the oils, the spicy oils. I want this now. I gotta say, this is better commercial for hot pot than any of the real ones that I've seen ever in my life. But the thing that's startling to me is the meatballs as they're rotating through the hot pot. Notice they come in dry, but once they do a full sort of revolution, they are now covered in the hot, delicious, gooey, spicy oil, and the model is able to keep those consistent. The ones that did a full actually not. I'm looking at it. This one didn't get that treatment, but the ones towards the center certainly did. You know what? I'm not going to complain. It is phenomenal. It took me like 5 or 6 times of rewatching that to spot one, quote unquote mistake. Here's VEO2. They didn't put a prompt, but looking very, very good. I'm guessing this is a dragon floating over New York City, I would guess. Here's soccer from the future. So again, this is looking a little bit more like AI generated video. But even here, everything's more, kind of coherent, defined. It's always interesting to see how these AI neural nets, how they think of certain activities that we do. Because like, for example, in soccer, it's kind of like, oh, well, they kind of do this thing where they shuffle back and forth. That's what soccer is. So you notice like every single one of the players kind of like doing this little thing, like all the time. Here's San Francisco drone footage, hyperlapse during the night, Golden Gate Bridge. So this is very good, very beautiful. Is this hyperlapse? I mean, hyperlapse is like time lapse basically, right? Where you're just sort of speeding it up, or is hyperlapse what they're doing where it switches from one to the other? But I gotta say, this is absolutely nailing it. It's incredible. You can even see the little people over there on the Golden Gate Bridge. Here's Christmas celebration. I find myself like kind of going, is this AI generated? I no longer can really tell at this point. This looks very, very real. Here's a donut house fly through. As I'm watching this, I'm realizing I haven't eaten. So I am definitely having maybe a more favorable reaction to some of these because this looks beautiful. Can you imagine living in a house like this? I need to get dinner. Here's capybara gymnastics. Very interesting shot. Why don't crocodiles eat capybaras? I never understood that. There's all these footage of like capybaras like walking past crocodiles or like just sitting on the crocodile's face. And you expect them to just get eaten and they never do. Why? Here's a hippo learning to ski. Again, I mean, the consistency, like it is what you expect it to be, right? Because the front feet don't move. They are sort of fixed in place as you would on skis. And the motion is created by the back feet. This is one of the most accurate and coherent video models we've seen. Here's something that I would never thought I see. A panda bear riding a pterodactyl flying over the Golden Gate Bridge. Absolutely stunning. So first of all, the background is phenomenal. Excellent. The panda, also excellent. I mean, pterodactyl, maybe you'd give it a point or two off. But then again, we really don't have any high quality footage of pterodactyls, do we? So certainly that's understandable. But with that said, I mean, still looks very, very good. It looks like a prop pterodactyl, but man, everything here is phenomenal. Here's cat packing. As you can see, he's walking with a lot of cats, 6 cats, 5 cats. Cat packing through, what is this? The Swiss Alps. A VEO video of people watching a VEO video. That's pretty cool. A sloth playing a game of Jenga made out of a bunch of donuts. Again, they're killing me here with the food imagery, but yeah, I would definitely lose this game of Jenga. I know how that sloth feels. Here's a cat jumping over a baby gate inside a living room. Here's the thing with a lot of these models, when they put them out and they showcase them on their website, the clips are extremely cherry picked. So you're like, wow, it's amazing. But then people start posting sort of their generations of it. And you're like, it's a little bit underwhelming. To me, as I'm seeing more and more of people posting their clips, yeah, I mean, there's a few there that aren't perfect, I would say, maybe a little choppy, but there's way too many just perfect video generations of stuff like this. That's kind of blowing my mind. Here's another one. We don't know what the prompt is, but wow, incredible reflections, incredible lighting, depth of field. The camera's focused on the snake's face. This is really good. So here's a coherent fight scene. As this person's saying, this is the only video model available that can do a coherent fight scene, which is true. I've never seen anything as accurate, as close to this. That's kind of impressive. Here's a flying paper crane. Very, very good. Here's on the left, there's a burning piece of paper. You can look at the fluid, the physics of the water. Absolutely incredible, absolutely lifelike, including the little bubbles. The paper slowly kind of gets lifted up. So it's an incredible simulation of physics and how paper actually burns, I can't spot any details here that would indicate that this is AI video. So I think I'll leave it at that. I'll put the links to a page I create down below that's going to have the links to how to sign up for the waitlist. And when this thing is finally released to everybody without a waitlist, I'll also update that page. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Is this the best model that's available right now? Is this the clear winner? You know, at least assuming that these are not cherry picked. I mean, a lot of these people that are posting, they're people that have had access to VEO2 and are just posting their generations. I don't think they're trying to, pick the most cherry picked ones, but so far there were a few that are a little bit off, but man, most of these are absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. Anyways, let me know what you think. My name is Wes Roth, and I'll see you next time.